above, tell there. We're on the record now, Dawn, so watch what you say.
All right, let me, I don't know what you mentioned, so I'm going to like be maybe a little redundant, but I want to thank you two. I want to thank Jonathan for coming out, and I appreciate, obviously, you know, I'm not the best blabber, and Rita's been helping me out. Rita is a business coach who used to be more of a dating coach, and that's how we got involved. I'll explain a little bit about that in a minute, but she was helping me, and the funny thing was that Rita mentioned I've been sick for the last couple of days. I got the flu. So Jonathan had Facebooked me that he was having trouble trying to set this up. So Rita jumped in and helped him out. And apparently Jonathan said, "Are you Dawn's assistant?" Which I kind of like. Yeah, which
I am.
But I really like that, you know. And actually, I like that whole concept. I mean, even a dating assistant is really kind of sounds appealing, you know. Instead of I have a dating coach, I have a dating assistant. I like that.
I love it.
Some people have that. Some people have that.
True.
Yeah. So I really appreciate your help, Rita, and I appreciate Dawn for coming out. So let me tell you a little bit about. She's underneath me, as far as I can tell right now, Rita. I ran into her a couple years back, and you'll appreciate this, Jonathan, because Jonathan is a dating coach, but one of his things is that he believes that women should really kind of take control. Am I saying that right?
I think they are certainly responsible for their own destiny.
Responsible for their own destiny, right. Okay. Yeah. So what Rita did was that she was a lawyer, and she was frustrated with her dating life, and she was okay with her business life, but her dating life kind of was not the greatest. So what she did was she took control of her destiny, and she did something called 35 dates in 35 days. And she did all these dates and then blogged about it. And that's how we got in touch. A couple of years ago, I was doing a similar type of thing, and I interviewed her on, I forgot what type. It was a kind of a blab, but it was a pre-blab.
Yeah, pre-blab.
And that's how we got hooked up, and then she started doing business, and we've been in touch ever since. Yeah. And she suggested doing the blabs, and that's why she got involved with this. And I wanted to get involved, and then I said, "Oh, I should ask Jonathan." And she's like, "Oh, I've wanted to meet him. I've seen him on Facebook, but I haven't met him." So I wanted to get you guys two together, so this was great.
Okay.
And I also wanted to talk about some of those concepts. One of the concepts I'd love to talk about is maybe blogging and dating. And the other one is that Jonathan is, he's a dating coach, and he usually works with women over 40. Mm-hmm. And he likes to write on Facebook a lot, and he asks provocative type questions.
Oh, they are so provocative.
And it really gets people going. And it's controversial, and he'll ask those dating questions, like, should women make the first move? And I think that was one of the more recent ones that he asked. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that today. Like,
sure.
Should women make the first move? Should women really take control of their dating life? How should they do that? So between the two of you, I think we'll have a nice, lively conversation about this. But, first I wanted to kind of begin with I know Rita is married now.
Yes.
Did your marriage evolve from that 35 dates in 35 days?
It did. Kind of. So date 34 and I hit it off as friends. And he kind of grabbed me as like a wing woman for an event he was going to. And at that event, I met my husband, right? So when I kind of blogged about him or talked about him, I didn't know I was going to meet my husband through him yet. I had just gone on the date with him, right? But what I tell people now is, see, that's kind of the idea that a lot of people write people off right after a date doesn't work out. It's kind of like, oh man, no romantic connection, right? Another wasted date, another bad night. And I tell people to unattach from the outcome, right? And just think of it as you're just meeting a person, and you have no idea why you met that person. It could be for a romantic reason. It could be for a million other reasons. And if I had written him off, right, as not being a romantic connection, and not explored or thought, why did I meet this guy, and realized, well, we're friends, we can hang out, I would have never met my husband, right? And so yes, in that way it came through, but he was not one of the 35 dates. No.
That's a great point. And I have women that have been coming up to me more recently. I have one girl that wanted to start dating and blogging about it.
Mhm.
And I said, "Oh, really? What do you want to do?" She goes, "Oh, I'm going to do a blog about my dating disasters." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no."
Talk about manifesting what you don't want, right?
You go out with a negative attitude on the first date, and you just start looking for the bad thing so you can write about it. You know, so you don't want to have a good time because it's not a good blog. Yeah. So never start a blog like that. I mean, and it's kind of hypocritical because I started over 10 years ago. Before they had blogging, I had a article in a local magazine called Sex in South Florida, which was about my attraction to men that were wrong for me. And I wrote the article for like 5 years. And eventually it got kind of pathetic because I kept writing about men that were wrong for me and kept dating men that were wrong for me. And it's like, it became cathartic, and it helped me move into where I'm moving. And that's what I wrote my first book about, the broken picker fixer and all that. And it helped me, but it was a lot of pain and misery I had to go through in the meantime. So it's not a great way to start. You know, it's like, I've learned from experience, trust me. If you want to blog about dating, that's great, but do it positive. You'll have a much better time.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jonathan, talking about women taking the reins in their dating career, in their dating life. Why don't you want to touch about that? I know it's a little bit controversial. Some people say women should make the first move. Most people say no, but Jonathan thinks that women should, right?
Well, I don't know how being empowered can be controversial, but I will say that if you want to attract a mate, you're going to have to put some effort out there. And because here's the thing, I work with a lot of women who their lives are kind of set. They aren't actually around single eligible men on a regular basis. So if you're not being seen, you got to change that. You got to put yourself out there. It might be putting an online dating profile together. It might be attending events. So it might be going to asking friends to introduce you. But that's what I mean by taking charge of your relationship destiny. It starts with effort, putting yourself out there.
Absolutely. I call that starting the signal in biological terms.
So let's just say, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but if you put yourself out there and nobody's asking you out, then take the initiative. Drop a hanky, introduce yourself to someone, ask them out. It's not going to disrupt the masculine and feminine dynamic if a woman asks a man out. And that's where the controversy comes, because that's where a lot of people go, oh no, men are supposed to do this and men are supposed to do that. Well, the truth is men are typically bad at leading a relationship. So I recommend women be in charge of their own relationship destiny.
I like to drop the hanky.
So that's it.
I remember that from the old movies where they used to drop the hanky.
Well, so I run a group date coaching program, and many of the members of that are from my singles group that I run. And I do this word association game with them at the beginning where I say like the word airplane, and I have them just say what comes to their mind. And then I've said before, make the first move. And they all immediately equate that to asking the guy out. And I said, do you realize that there's this like big area between making the first move and asking someone out? Like, and I have them imagine a world where women have to do all the talking. They have to be the ones that always initiate conversation, that always make the eye contact. And I go, how do you feel? And they're like, God, exhausted, terrible, nervous. Like, I don't want to do it. And I said, don't you think that's how the guys feel, right? That they always have to be the ones to start the conversation, to come over and say hi. Like, it's not asking a guy out just because you smile and make conversation and start talking. And there's a difference. And I have to tell them the difference between just making eye contact or smiling or saying hi. That's a big jump to asking someone out. You can let a guy know, I would very much like for you to ask me out, and still have made the first move and have him be the first one to ask you out.
Right. And that's what I was referring to, is biologically in science, the female usually starts the signal. So she'll signal receptivity, and in all species, you'll see that. including humans. We're part of the biological nature of the world. So that is a normal process. And I agree. But the controversy does come from like the asking, making the first move, making the signal, or doing the actual asking out. And then that's where the controversy comes in. And to
well, controversy is only because that's the traditional expectation. So, and I want to share with you, because Dawn, you and I disagree on this, is that the biology you speak of certainly makes sense for the 16, 18, and 20-year-old, but my audience that I speak of is the over 45 crowd. They've got a lot of life experience that is interweaved into their biology. That's where it gets even more, I'll say even chaotic, because childhood wounds start to surface, their day-to-day activities in their lives surface. So that's why I'm such a strong proponent for my clients to take charge of their own destiny. It's not should you ask a man out, because there's no such things of shoulds or shouldn't. It's what I say, it's okay if you want to take the initiative. It's not going to disrupt the whole dynamic because you say, hey, I'd like to treat you to a drink. Is that okay with you? And see what he says. And if you guys have a good time, you go from there. You might end up meeting the best friend that introduces you to the man who's going to end up being the person you marry, like what happened for Rita. So that's all I'm suggesting.
Well, there is a important biological feature that happens as you get older. And to make a point, he does work with older people or older women. When a man gets in a committed relationship, his testosterone drops. And when his testosterone drops, he has a part of his brain called the pursuit spot, which is testosterone sensitive. So it shrinks. So if he's been in a relationship for 10 years or been married for 10 years and then gets a divorce and goes back out again, he is biologically less aggressive or less likely to pursue. So he may need an extra nudge. And so when that occurs, what he's saying has some biological merit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
So he's trying to.
I got cut out on that whole thing.
Oh, okay. Real quick. A man has a part of his brain called the pursuit spot. Actually, men and women both have it. Men is 2.5 times larger. Except when a man, it's sensitive to testosterone. So when a man gets in a relationship, his testosterone level drops. Therefore, his pursuit spot can shrink. So if he gets a divorce and he goes back out looking, he doesn't have that full incentive he used to have as a younger man. He's got a much smaller pursuit spot. So he doesn't really have that like go get him that he did before. So he may need an extra little bit of a nudge. And I think that's what you're trying to say to the women that you work with. Am I saying that correctly?
Well,
did you get that?
By the way, I'm sorry, Dawn, you got cut out so much on that, but I got the gist of what you're saying, and I certainly would agree with that.
Okay, I kind of lost them a little bit too. We're just gonna nod. All right. I'm not sure if everybody was able to hear me if I cut out. Did I cut out, Rita?
No. I think there was just some lag, so like it wasn't syncing up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So anyway, biologically, as a man gets older, he may need an extra nudge. And I think that that's what Jonathan is saying to the women that he's working with, to give him that extra little bit of a nudge.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Look at that. So, 3 date coaches in agreement. I can't believe it.
One of the other, we have agreement. Well, what is the latest thing you've been working on, Jonathan?
Actually, I'm putting together a midlife dating and relationship academy where I'm going to be putting together a group of experts together that specialize for those in midlife. I think there's, one of the challenges that most people have in midlife is that they have difficulty seeing the future through the same window. And what I mean by that is for those in their 20s and 30s, their primary drive to mate, besides love, is start a family or combine forces when it comes to living expenses, which was predominantly the main reason why people mated for thousands of years. It was either to merge assets or to start start their lineage, if you will. So in midlife, it's a lot different because you're kind of set in where you're at. And one of the greatest challenges after you've decided, once you start dating, is how do you blend lives together? That's where a lot of friction comes. So I want to dispel a lot of the traditional beliefs of mating and really bring to the forefront the conversation of what it's like to date after 40, after 50, after 60, and how do you blend those lives together?
Interesting. Okay, fantastic. Well, let us know how we can support you on that. And I think that's a needed conversation because it's,
thank you.
As a lot of, the baby boomer generation is getting older. The normal course of married till death do you part is basically divergent at this point. When you fall in love, you continue to grow. So in order and sometimes you grow apart, and that's normal. So people end up splitting apart later in life. And we see there is an actual biological study that shows that about 10 years you have the highest disagreements. And then if you survive 10 years, you'll go up to 20 pretty well. But then again, you have another mark there where you'll see a lot of divorces. So it's natural of people that are living till 60, 80 years old to go through a couple relationships. So, and because of that, it's not, you don't have that romantic idea anymore of, oh yes, we're just going to blindly jump into this and throw all of our assets in and not worry about it because we know it's love forever. People have to be more cautious and take care. They've got children from other marriages and heirs and that type of thing. So I think this is a good conversation to have. Bravo.
Okay.
Merging lives is hard, right? Most of the clients that I get for dating and for dating and relationship or for the business coaching I do, they're the same demographic, women in their 40s. And it's either women in their 40s who are single again, so they're looking to find love, or it's the women in their 40s who are like, crap, I am in my 40s and I am nowhere near close to getting married. Maybe it's time that I take ownership of this, figure out what I've done, right? Like that whole thing. And so, but it's the same. So whether they're merging from, their house because they lived a full life and they're married and they have kids, or they're merging a house after being an independent woman, right, for 40, 50 years, it's the same issues that they come up with, whether you're single, never married, or single, previously married. It's such an important thing. And now that people are starting to not marry till later in life because of education and career and all of that, it's an important conversation that's going to continue to be needed, to be had. Let's see, Dutch over here had a comment. I wouldn't say natural because we're living longer and longer. Some of this is we don't have an evolutionary roadmap for pursuit at 60. Like we're living longer and longer, so it's a new frontier that people are starting to find love and at 60 and 70, whereas that wasn't anything that people really had to do before.
Well, there are biological changes. So there is some science and there is some natural, biological things that are occurring as you get older. So the pursuit is not necessarily the same as it is, Jonathan mentioned, as it is when you're in your 20s and 30s. It does change.
Yeah.
So, and if anybody wants to come on, can they? And ask a question or talk?
Yeah, I let them know. They're all being shy over there. I'm like, come on, guys, grab a seat, ask your question, hop on, or even just say hi, right? Like, just say hello. You never know who's out there who will watch the replay, who will see you if you're single. No one might want to talk to you.
Jump on in. We won't bite.
Everybody's always shy on Blab midday. Nighttime's different. 7 o'clock p.m. on, everybody wants to get on Blab and blab away. But midday, they're usually watching from their desk at work and trying to pretend they're not.
Right. Yeah. Work. Supposed to be work. Eating lunch.
Yes, Dutch is eating.
Or eating lunch, as Dutch
lunch. Well, that's that's what this is, Lunch and Love, right? Well, Dawn, what about you?
Yes,
What
it
are
is.
you working on recently? Right here, you are the host, so I'm going to host you for a minute. Like, what are you working on?
Well, I am finishing up writing my book, so I'm spending the rest of this year working on that, and it's about the science of love. And then I'm working on a TEDx talk that will be in February about how we fall in love, how we biologically fall in love. So the next book is going to talk about the stages of love, because most people think love is on or off, but it's actually several stages, and it's biochemical. So certain chemicals build up, we actually fall in love, which causes dramatic brain changes, and those brain changes last a certain amount of time, and then you go into another phase of love, or you don't, and we see a lot of breakups during this time. And then there's also ways that you can stay in love. You can actually stay in lifelong love, but it takes a little bit of work. You know, there's that biological process of inertia, where if every system degrades unless you put more work into it. So you have to put more work in if you want to maintain lifelong love.
Damn it, I'm gonna have to work. I'm gonna have to work at this. To work in my marriage. If I had known that.
Great work. It's fun. It's like go out and do something really fun. Yeah, that's hard.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I know it is work, right? I think it's work even when you're dating, right? Nobody wants it to be, though. That's the problem. Nobody wants it to be work. Everybody thinks that it should just happen. First of all, it should just happen, and then it should just continue. And everybody should be mind readers, and it should just all fall into place. And
well, when you fall in love, parts of your brain shut down. So like you can't really see the other person for what they are. You can't really see yourself for what they are. Parts of your temporal lobe shut down, just as Jonathan mentioned. So those bad your bad memories are suppressed for a while, and then later on they come back, and then you expect the other person to make you feel better, and then you're like upset because they can't, and they've been gone for a little while, and you don't understand what happened, and you think the love is over and something's changed, and it's not. It's all biochemical, and if you understand the process, it makes it easier, and you've got to deal with your own stuff. And I think Jonathan will agree, doing the work ahead of time to deal with some of that stuff makes the transition for love smoother. Am I wrong, or is that what you? I think that's what you believe, right?
You know, I only heard like one out of every 7 words you said. So
well, he agrees with you, Dawn. He absolutely agrees with you.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you see Dutch driver over here? Dawn said dopamine euphoria, right? Dopamine euphoria. That whole chemical.
Well,
kind of, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something else controversial, because people will watch this on the replay, right? So let's just keep talking, like answering questions that we think people will have.
Can Jonathan hear you? Can Jonathan hear you?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me, Jonathan? I think there's like a lag.
I can't. It keeps.
Yeah, he's struggling over there. It's the West Coast, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with you guys over there. Yeah, lots of lag. Yeah, you can refresh too, Jonathan.
Why don't you refresh and come back?
So one day we're gonna have a lab that is just like that is technology glitch free.
Oh, how about falling in love with the wrong person? Any thoughts on that?
All the thoughts on that. All the thoughts on that.
Okay, I got a little bit. So anyway, I did write the book on that subject. So
Okay, refresh my screen.
There you go. Can you hear us now, Jonathan?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we just got a question about falling in love with the wrong person, and if we all had any thoughts on that. So Dawn is starting because she wrote the book on that.
Well, one of the reasons you keep falling for the wrong person is and it kind of goes into the conversation I was about to have, is like doing the work before you get into a relationship. And what I found is that often you can trace falling in love with the wrong person back to your childhood and your childhood beliefs. And for me, I had an older brother who had a lot of issues, and because he did, my mother kind of pushed me aside. And when I grew up, I kind of felt unwanted, unloved, but that felt normal. So when I got into a relationship, and if you really loved me, that felt like too much. That was like overwhelming. So I pushed you back. But if I was trying to earn your love, and you didn't really love me that much, that felt normal. So I was constantly going after men that was not that interested in me, because that's what felt right for me.
Right. You know, me too, Dawn. So like, but mine was different. I was like really overweight, not really overweight. I mean, but overweight as a kid. I'm still kind of overweight as an adult, but overweight as a kid growing up and in high school and stuff. That's tough, right? So I kind of always thought people wouldn't like me the way I was. So I had to do something to be liked, right? I had to be funny. I had to be the class clown. I had to help people, offer to help with their homework and offer to drive, because if I had to earn them liking me, right? So I was attracted to guys who weren't attracted to me, who either just wanted to be friends, or they were kind of taken, or they were like celebrity crushes, right? People that were never going to be interested in me, but I wanted to earn their love. I felt like that was normal. If somebody didn't like me right away, and I would have to earn it and chase it and pursue it. So I was attracted to all of, because people, like you said, guys who did like me, I was like, what the hell's wrong with them, right? Something must be wrong with them. They actually just like me for me. They must be needy or creepy or weird or something. And so I would push those same people away, right? But I didn't realize that until I did my 35 dates, because at that point I realized I had had 5 long-term relationships in my life, and here's what they had in common. They had all ended, and me, and that was it. That was all these dudes had in common. So I had to figure out what I was doing, right, to cause this to happen over and over. And so that's when I did the work, right, and dug back to situations and events from my childhood and figured out, okay, I get it. I get why some of the decisions I made about myself and the choices I'm making because of those decisions. And so for the person who asked, right, about falling in love with the wrong person, that's usually where it comes from, Taylor. I don't know if you want to hop on camera or not, and we'd love to hear you talk, but that's usually where it comes from. You can usually trace it back. I don't know, Jonathan, same for guys?
Well, my thought is there's no such thing as the wrong person, because everybody comes into your life to teach you a lesson. So, you know, if we focus on the word wrong, I mean, what does that really mean? You know, so I mean, and we can get into
wrong for me is what I mean.
Wrong for me. And so, well, my response to how about falling in love with the wrong person? Well, stop it. You know, there's a great, here, I'll post a video from Bob Newhart, you know, just, you know, once you realize that you're not a good fit, you know, it's about being conscious and asking yourself, is this the right person for me? And having that chat with them, because you may not be right for them, and move on. But honestly, if you don't ask yourself, why did I enter in this relationship? What is the lesson that is meant to be learned? And what am I most grateful for from this relationship? What do most people do? The opposite. They're focusing on what's wrong. They're pointing the finger at the other person. They don't take personal responsibility. And that's why they perpetuate this year after, you know, time and time again. So I'm more of a proponent of taking personal responsibility for your choices. Ask yourself, what is the gift in this relationship? That's it. That's it. What is the gift? And then say, okay, what do I need to learn about myself so when I enter another relationship, I don't continue a pattern?
Yeah.
That's the work. That's the work that we're talking about. A lot of women don't do that work. We just go after the feeling. So that's part of the problem, is that initial feeling that we feel is just the beginning, and it could be love or it could not be love. And then when a woman follows that initial feeling, and then she goes through the biochemical phases of adding up those biochemicals to fall in love, once she falls in love, she's kind of stuck in that relationship for a while, because now her brain changes, she can't see clearly, and for a while, until usually they leave or something happens.
Well, you know, Jonathan said the buzzword though, right? Because I remember when I was, I can't remember if it was this past year or the year before, but when I was on the Great Love Debate panel in DC, right? I remember looking out at the audience and saying, I want all of you here tonight to turn in your award for being a victim. I want you to turn in that Academy Award, right? And I want you to take personal responsibility for, and oh my gosh, the fury that unleashed, right? With the thought of, why do I have to do anything different? Why is it me that has to change? Why don't they have to change? Why? The victim mentality was rampant, right? In that audience.
Because we're sucking on the nipple of the victim mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes such a huge difference. It's like, if you want to know the first thing about why you're falling in love with the wrong person, or the person that's not right for you, or that you don't ultimately want to be with, who's not compatible for you, really, is that at the end of the day, you got to start with you. You're the one making the choices. You're the one staying or not staying, or being attracted to someone, or turning other people away. It all starts with you. Let's see, every person, so somebody over here said, every person you encounter is there, absolutely, to fulfill a purpose in your life, you'll always take something away. And I totally agree that I think one of the most powerful exercises you can do is to list every past relationship you've had, whether they're romantic or not, and find the contribution that relationship gave you and say thank you for it and own it and say, that was why and that's why I think when you go on dates, if you can become unattached to the outcome and say, I don't know, maybe I'm meeting Jonathan for a romantic reason. Maybe we're going to have information to share with each other. Maybe we'll be friends. Maybe he'll treat me like crap and I get a chance to enforce a boundary. Or maybe I'll really like him and he won't like me back. And then I can learn what I liked about somebody and take that forward, right? Every person crosses your path for a reason, but it's on you to think like that and find that person. But not everyone is compatible for everyone. So I think that's like the wrong person usually means it's not compatible for me.
Well, for me, I was chasing after, I was a biology professor, had a day job, and I was chasing after bikers who played in the band.
Hey, I'm sure they're perfectly great bikers that play in a band, Dawn.
But it just didn't fit. I mean, I couldn't possibly bring him to the faculty Christmas party. You know, it was just like the tattooed, possibly non-law abiding. You know, I wasn't quite the great person for me. You know, especially when you're embarrassed to bring him to meet your boss. It's probably not the right person for you.
It's very, very true, right? I mean, but you do, and that's more personal responsibility though, to figure out who you're compatible with and what you want, right? It's like,
Jonathan's writing. Why don't you say this, Jonathan?
Say it.
Okay. My friend Dr. Sherry Myers shared with me her approach to dating. I've always seen dating as an adventure. I stay open because I believe that there's a reason why I'm meeting each person, whether it's to practice my dating skills, have an interesting conversation, get some masculine energy, or learn something new about myself. If something more, how exciting is that? After a date, after I go out with a man, the first question I ask myself is, can I be friends with him? Do I like him?
Yeah.
There's
a little more.
Wait, there's actually more.
There's more. There has to be more.
Do I like him? Wait. Oh, here. Wait. Hold on 1 second. I'll get it.
Okay.
Do I lick him or not?
Do I lick him? Do I not lick him? I don't know. It's really complicated. So Dutch Driver though says a rarity, but it's actually really not. More people think like that, Dutch, than you think. Am I attracted to him physically and beyond the physical, right? And I always say, add to that question, how do I feel around this person? Do I feel good about myself around this person? Did I feel respect? Too often we're thinking, is he going to text me? Is he going to call me? Is he going to do this? How did you first answer? Tell me how you felt around this guy. Do you even like him? Does it even matter? Exactly. Like, do I like him? So I totally agree with Sherry. I think that's dead on point.
Yeah, no, I agree too. We got a call in.
It's Michelle. It's Michelle. Michelle Jacoby.
Oh.
Hey, girl.
I'm driving. Don't
die.
Don't do that.
Please pull over.
Please pull over.
She just did. She just parked.
I haven't like 2 minutes, but can I say one thing about dating the wrong person? So
sure.
I do this exercise with my clients where I have them write what I call a protective contract. They write a contract and they sign it and date it, and they make two lists. One list is, these are the behaviors I will not accept from a partner. And the other one are, these are the qualities I will not accept in a partner. And I have them go back and think about everyone they've dated in the past and their family relationships and just what does and doesn't work for you. And you sign it, you date it, you print it out. And then when you know you're dating the hot guy, or you know you're getting all this attention, so you sweep all the red flags under the rug, you pull out this contract and you really look at it. And I've had a lot of clients say to me 6 months after I work with them, thank you for this, because I would have stayed with him for 6 years or 6 months. I stayed with him for 3 months and then I moved on. And I always say the best way to meet the right person is to move away from the wrong person really fast. You know? So it's all about personal boundaries and self-love and knowing that someone could be a good person and you just got to move on. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
yes,
true.
I just did a whole video about that too. I agree. You do the five. Well, I have 5 must-haves and 5 deal breakers, because if you create I'll have women that create this huge long list of like must-haves, and it's just way too much because they're just creating a lot of blocks. But if you have what you really want and what you definitely don't want, and then when you first go out, before you go out, and then you're becoming clear. And I agree. Thank you for sharing that. That was great advice.
Yeah, it's good to write.
I think, can I jump in on this though? One of the
really works.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Here's one of the challenges with deal breakers that I've seen is that they write things that take months to learn about a person. Like, I want someone honest. If he's not honest, it's a deal breaker. Well, that takes months to learn. You know, it's important to know what do you want up front. So, for example, one of the things when I went back out dating, I said, I want someone who lives within 20 miles of me. Okay. I was clear. I didn't want to do a long distance relationship. I did that. That doesn't work. That's something I can figure out on the first, second, or third date. So if you're going to ask yourself deal breaker questions, they're the kind of things you can find out in the first, second, or third date. Because things like integrity, honesty, what do they want in their lives, that's going to take time to learn.
I agree. I think that's why sometimes it's important to work with a coach, because when you just try to do this on your own, sometimes you'll create those type of lists that are hard to really figure out. But when you work with somebody and you can sit down and go, okay, this is kind of a given, but what is really important? So like things like must be able to vote. In other words, he's not a felon. You know.
But is that okay? But
such a positive spin on that one.
I worked with a client the other day. Her deal breaker was he must wash his car. He must wash his car was a deal breaker. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
And she says, well, that's a sign of whether or not he keeps a clean life for himself. And I'm like, I am the messiest person in the world. That doesn't mean I'm bad in relationship.
Right. Or like, and another one is the college degree. So I get that a lot. Like I need a man that has a college degree. And I'll say, well, wait a minute. Why? Why do you need a man that has a college? Well, because I want a guy who's intelligent and can talk about cultural events. Okay, so you want a guy who's intelligent and can talk about cultural events. I still don't understand what's a college degree about. And I'll finally say, could there be a guy with a college degree that can't do those things? Yes. Can there be a guy without a college degree who can? Yes. Okay, so you're making an assumption based on the college degree. You've got to stop making these assumptions and just find out about the things that you really want, right? Take away these assumptions.
That's how a coach can help. The coach helps dig further what you really mean by something. And I have that too. I have women that say he has to have good grammar. I'm not even sure why he has to have good grammar, but that's important. Well, it turns out the man that I'm with, I have an advanced degree. He doesn't have a degree. He has a GED, but he's very successful in business. He doesn't spell very well. He's so slightly dyslexic. But it turns out that a lot of successful businessmen are dyslexic, and it's their dyslexia overcoming that has caused them to become so successful.
Wow, so, that's interesting.
So this guy is amazing, and I would have blown it if I had made too restrictive of a deal breaker.
Yeah.
So I had things in there.
Yeah. You have to get clear, but like you said, you do so I had a client the other day, she had written down these things that are super important to her and a guy, right? Like under a couple of different categories. And she's gone out with this guy 4 times now. And so she went out with him, she called me, she's like, I'm so excited. Like I've gone out with this guy and he's wonderful. And I said, okay, how does he compare to your compatibility list, right? And she said, well, I haven't pulled that out. And I said, well, you should probably pull it out. And she said, you know what, Rita? I realized I pulled it out. I haven't asked him about any of these things, right? We're on date 4, and I have not asked him about any of this. So now I know I need to get past the surface level and start asking more questions, right? That's where it can come in handy too. It's like, what's important to me that I haven't even touched on, so that you can kind of reel yourself in before, what is it Barbara D'Angelo says, before you put commitment before compatibility, right? And people are always putting commitment before compatibility. And so I think that it can come in handy for that reason as well. It's a good guide to say, wait a minute, I haven't asked any of these things. Why am I so attached to this guy when I know nothing about him?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You were going to say something, Jonathan, I think, before I lost you?
No, I keep losing it keeps getting intermittent. So,
your
anyway,
link is
well, I was going to say earlier, I called it the Seinfeld Syndrome, where, Jerry Seinfeld dated more women than anyone on the planet during his tenure on television, and he had a reason for breaking up with every single one. You know, like she had man hands, she was a close talker, she was a far talker, she ate her peas with a fork. He had a good reason to break up with everyone. And
yeah, the one with the toothbrush too, right?
You know, and as yeah, exactly, toothbrush in the toilet. And here's the thing for midlife daters. The midlife dater struggles because they don't have the eligible pool of singles at their fingertips like those in their 20s. So when you meet a good person, do your best not to create so many hurdles, so many hoops someone has to jump through. Just spend time getting to know them as a friend. One of the reasons why most people love the movie Harry Met Sally is because they were best friends before they ever became a romantic partnership. And that's what I encourage people. Could this person be your friend? Is this someone you like talking to? Is this someone that you could eventually feel like you could have their back and they can have your back? Because you ask anyone who's been married over 50 years, and they all say the same thing. I married my best friend. Oh, by the way, let me say this, happily married. They said they married their best friend. And so that's the way dating should be approached, in my opinion, is you're looking to meet your best friend first and not, you know, getting to the destination. I am a complete believer in being detached to an outcome. This is about making a friend first, in my opinion.
What did Dutch driver said? Well, they started as enemies.
I know, how cute. I don't know if they were enemies. When their relationship began was the day they said, let's be friends, though.
Well, he says, watch it again.
No, I know they started as enemies. I get it, Dutch.
For the sake of argument, it was a movie. It's a movie. Yeah. So he was just using it as a point, not as a factual thesis.
I want to say hi to Clarissa, who jumped in to support. So Clarissa, just so you know, you can ask any question you want, or you can grab a seat and ask a question or whatever.
Can I jump in?
Jump in?
No,
I was just going to say I'm sorry. I was going to go back to the point about being enemies. You know, yeah, they weren't right for each other at that moment in time, but you know, look what happened later. Sometimes we dismiss people that are actually our perfect mate for us too quickly. And certainly in that movie, they had an evolution. But ultimately, who's going to have a better relationship? Those people that jump into bed on the first date, or those who develop a friendship first? That's all.
Well, I'm not a proponent of jumping in the bed on the first date.
Me neither.
I'm actually going to get neutral on that one, right? I tell people, just be clear about what you want, right? I don't think there's a right or wrong as long as you know what you want and you communicate that honestly with other people, right? So I go, maybe you just want to jump in bed, or you just want to, you know, have casual relationships. Good on you, right? No judgment, like have that. But if you want something more, then you just need to be kind of aware of that and communicate that. So, I try.
Right. I mean, the work I do is help women find love.
Yeah.
If you want to find sex, it's easy. You know, just walk outside. But if you want to find love,
no, just text me. Just left swipe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can call in nowadays. You don't have to walk outside.
Yeah, you can just left swipe. Hey, that's right.
You don't even have to leave your house.
Right swipe, right left. Right swipe, left swipe.
That's so funny. So but it's true.
You can just post on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, wait a minute. I don't know that much about Tinder. Is Tinder really a hookup app, or is it? I have one of my girls that is using it is going on a date. Is she setting herself up for trouble?
No, you know, on Huffington Post, they're profiling a woman who's 55 or 60 who's using Tinder to find her dates. And she's had some really great, amazing quality dates through Tinder. Again, it's how you use it and the boundaries you set and what you enforce and communicate. Sure. Will you make a lot of people fall away who are on there just for casual stuff? Absolutely. Right. But, at the same time, you can also find perfectly fine. It's no different than anything else. Right. Hi, Clarissa. Welcome.
Hi, everybody.
So what do you have to say about dating and relationships, Clarissa? Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm a behavioral scientist and clinician and researcher. And I am the author of a very tongue-in-cheek relationship wellness blog called you'rejustadumbass.com.
Wait, you're just a dumbass?
I love it, right? Yeah, it's a very tongue-in-cheek approach to a lot of the cognitive behavioral techniques that I designed throughout the course of my 17-year career. So I kind of re-engineered the traditional therapeutic model and created a new behavior modification model, and I use that on the blog.
Gotcha.
So it's it's not clinical. It's very, I'm from New York, so it's just direct in your face. It's
Do you have a question or something for us? I just looked at the clock. We only have about 6 more minutes left.
Oh, okay. I just did a segment with Huffington Post Live on Tinder.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, so do you have what you hopped in a little late. So what we've talked about, right, are things like dating, and Jonathan really works with a lot of women dating 40 plus, 50 plus, 60, right, midlife and on. Awesome. And I do more the front end of stuff, how to have fun dating, right? So mine's just make it more fun, right? And Dawn's a biologist. So we've been talking about all these different aspects of love and falling in love and being attracted to the wrong people and all of that kind of stuff.
I think you were going to talk about Tinder, right? Because you just cut
off Tinder. Yeah. So what do you think of these dating apps, Clarissa? Because I know you probably have an opinion of it. Of Tinder versus Match. Do you think that people are setting themselves up for failure with things like Tinder and can't really find a good, meaningful relationship, or do you think that you can?
I think Tinder is trying to move away from that hookup culture that it's associated with. So I think with this new feature, the super like, I think it's their attempt to make the site a lot more monogamous.
Tell us about that new feature, because I'm married. I don't hop on Tinder. So what's this new feature on Tinder?
I've never used Tinder, but I'm also developing an online dating concept. So I've researched, almost every single platform. Mm-hmm. So the new feature is you're only allowed to use it once a day. So that one time that you reach out to someone, it's supposed to be someone that you have real interest in.
Oh.
So so from my perspective, from a female user experience perspective, I would think that that's an empowering tool, right? Because you're eliminating a lot of the just straight up hookup and from a lot of the data that I've seen about some of the ways they approach people on Tinder is just horrible. And the Vanity Fair article called "Dating Apocalypse," he did a study in New York City based on how women perceive Tinder, how women perceive dating in general, and it highlighted how it's severely objectified. It's just pure direct sex requests. So yeah. I think that this new feature, I think, is more trying to make the site less hookup culture, because Tinder's been under a lot of heat. The Department of Health put out a peak in STD rates because of Tinder.
Oh my God, really? Wow.
Yeah, let me pull up. I wrote an article about.
Oh, wow. Yeah, put it on the side.
That's what I was afraid of. That's what I was afraid of with one of my girls getting on there, because I was like, that's Match. All of those are a little bit more legit, but Tinder had some iffiness about it, a little bit of sketchiness.
You just need to tell her to use the super.
Well, can I share something about Tinder that's a personal experience?
Sure.
Can you hear me? I was going to say, when I was on Tinder recently, there were times I would just open the app because I just wanted the dopamine hit of looking at women and just clicking, not because I was serious, just because I was lonely, maybe feeling depressed in the moment. And I did it purely for the dopamine hit. I say that on a afterthought, not necessarily in the moment, just because I wanted to feel connected to someone, not because I was serious. And I was just right swipe or left swipe ones I liked with no real intent of approaching them.
Sure.
It's also there. And that's no different with online dating. Sometimes we go online just because in that moment we want to feel connected to another human being, but we may not be truly serious about them. So that's one of the blessings and the curse of connecting through a virtual world is we have immediate access, which is the blessing, but the curse is sometimes we're just not in the real space to really engage, and we're doing it because we're feeling lonely and disconnected.
Yeah, that's so true. Very true. So awesome. Well, cool. Thank you, Clarissa. Thanks for jumping on, and thank you for your thoughts and that information on Tinder. I'm gonna have to let people know about this new super like feature. It's awesome.
Fantastic.
Well,
and we have
I like her website. You're just a dumbass.
Go ahead, Dawn.
Oh, I'm losing. Okay, well, we're out of time. I want to thank Jonathan and Rita for coming out today, if you can still hear me. And if you want to, Jonathan, if you want to leave a link or something for your information, put it up here on the chat box, and Rita the same, and then people can get a hold of you. You can also like them on Facebook. And if you want to learn more, also, you can join into Jonathan's lively debates on Facebook if you'd like to.
Yeah, they're fun.
You guys have
fun.
Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to give? Rita?
All I can really say to people watching is really spend some quality time. Like, come at it from a point of dating if you're frustrated with it, right? Not asking, why does this keep happening to me? And take away the to me part and just ask, why is this happening? Why do I keep attracting this guy? Take away the to me and just start coming at it from what am I doing that could be causing the situations around me. And I guarantee you'll have a different reaction to everything. So that's my big thing, is just spend some time in life, not just about dating. Take away that to me part and just ask the question, and everything starts becoming different. So that's my little takeaway part.
Thank you. How about Jonathan? You have any thoughts?
Well, my takeaway, though, I do have one thought I'll share with everybody, and that is most men are good guys. Most men are good guys in heart, and yet most men are bad daters. They're just bad at dating. So if you set up your expectation here, you're going to often be disappointed because they're not good at it. But that doesn't mean that they're not capable of being in a relationship, being in a partnership, and having a lot of love to share. But my recommendation, don't set your expectations here. Just start off with friends and work your way up.
Awesome advice. All right, great.
What about you, Dawn?
Thank you guys for coming up. I think that you should come in every week to Lunch at Love to learn more.
Yeah, right. I like that. So, guys, are you gonna make this? Are you gonna do this every Thursday at 12 so people watching the replay know?
I think yes. I'm gonna do it. I'm definitely gonna do it again next week. So we'll play it by ear.
So you guys, so click. Everybody watching on the replay, click on Dawn and click on Jonathan on their little people, so you can follow them and see anytime they go live on Blab. So there you go.
Thank you, Rita.
You're welcome.
Great. Thank you guys for coming out, and hopefully see you next week.
Bye, guys. Bye, Jonathan. Bye, Dawn.